Let's talk about how we learn. The first thing you need to know is that there are two types of learning. The first type of learning is called explicit learning or conscious learning. This is the type of learning where the learner knows that he is learning something and also what is being learned. One example of explicit learning is studying grammar. When you listen to an English teacher explaining the past tense, you're learning English explicitly by consciously memorizing how to use the past tense. The second type of learning is called implicit learning or unconscious learning. In implicit learning, the learner doesn't know what is being learned. Oftentimes, he's not even aware that he's learning something. The learning happens unconsciously. One example of implicit learning is listening to a conversation in English. When you listen to a conversation, your main goal is not to learn English, but to understand the conversation. But by doing the activity, you're simultaneously learning English. You may not realize it, but you're learning many aspects of the English language, the sentence structure, the grammar, the vocabulary, and so on. So we can learn English in two different ways, either explicitly or implicitly. The question is, which way of learning is better? To answer this question, consider this. Just like there are two types of learning, there are also two types of knowledge, explicit knowledge and implicit knowledge. Explicit learning results in explicit knowledge, whereas implicit learning results in implicit knowledge. And there's a very big difference between these two knowledges. Accessing explicit knowledge requires conscious thought. You have to think about the knowledge in order to use it. This means that if you want to speak English properly, you have to think about English. You have to think about whether to use the past tense or something else. You have to think about how to form a sentence properly. But that's impossible because when you speak, there's no time to think about any of that. In contrast, accessing implicit knowledge doesn't require conscious thought. You don't have to think about the knowledge in order to use it. Think about how you speak your first language. It's pretty effortless, isn't it? You can speak properly without having to think about any grammar rule. That is possible only because your knowledge of your native language is implicit. For this reason, implicit learning is a much better learning strategy. When you don't have to think about English, it frees up your mind so you can fully concentrate on expressing your thoughts and ideas. Unfortunately, many English students like to learn English in an explicit manner. Some of them spend time on YouTube watching videos about grammar. What they don't realize is that the knowledge they gain from the activity is explicit knowledge, which is almost useless when it comes to speaking.